All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Big Time Hoops, the podcast. The flavor of the season is fantasy drafts, and we're keeping it going. But instead of doing the current crop of players, we're going back. We're doing a decade in review. 2020 is, thank God, almost at the end here, but we're going to look back on the decade as a whole. 2010 to 2020, girls class AA and A fantasy draft. And I brought in some big timers for this one. I don't know how many wins we have in the room. We got a lot of wins. We got a lot of gold balls. We got a lot of regional titles. You name it, we got it in this room tonight. And we're going to go around the horn and just see who we got tonight. So starting out first, I got my buddy. I don't know how many appearances this is. He is a veteran of many fantasy drafts. We got Laughn Berthiaume, the Gorham girls head coach. Laughn, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me back. This is a great group of guys.
So, I mean, you've been on the sidelines for a little bit. We were doing fantasy drafts when the pandemic first kicked off 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and here we are 8 months later, and we're doing it again. Are you good to go? Or is there going to be any rust when it comes to you drafting? Are you ready for this?
You know what? We're a long ways away from the Fort Kent men's softball draft, but I think I'll be able to shake the rust off and be okay.
All right, that works for me. Our next guest, you were just here a couple weeks ago. Nate Pelletier, the Oxford Hills girls coach, the defending two-time girls AA state champion head coach, and hopefully going to add a fantasy draft championship to the resume as well. Nate, how you doing tonight?
Not bad, Tom. Thanks for having me. Laughn, thanks for reaching out. This is a great group, actually. And Michael, thanks for coming on and being the historian, I guess, for this whole group.
It's going to be fun, and I got to ask you this question, Nate. I mean, you got some players that could very easily be picked tonight. Have you already made some promises to some of the players' agents? Have you already reached out to some agents and made some promises if they're available at a certain pick? Are you going to pick them or what?
I didn't make any promises. I'm just trying to find the best team I can possible, and if some of my kids fall on that team, they fall on that team.
Okay. Next, we got Bill Goodman, current coach of the Cheverus girls, but he spent some time at Macaulay. He spent some time at Greeley, currently at Cheverus. He's got some gold balls, and he's had some great players during his tenure as well. Making his first appearance on the podcast. Bill, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me. Some pretty good coaches here, and I'll tell you, I've been fired up this week. I've been allowed to work with my team, and Mike Hoffer has been coming out with his history to keep people going on Twitter and bringing back memories for me. So it's been a good week for me.
Yeah, and just talking about the players and some of the players you've had, some of the teams you've been part of. I'm guessing we're gonna have some of your girls pick tonight. Is there one? You don't have to say who it is, but do you have one in mind if she's available? If she's there right off the top, do you have one in mind that you're going with? Are you going to go with one of the homegrown picks?
Yeah. No, I mean, I got a plethora to pick from for that I coached. I was very lucky to coach. And before I got to Greeley, I was at Deering and saw a couple special players there too. So I was able to watch a lot of good players last decade.
Absolutely. Our fourth captain, our last captain for tonight, we got Mike Girodana joining us, currently the head coach at Scarborough, spent a lot of time in South Portland, and also making his first appearance on the podcast tonight. Coach, how you doing?
I'm terrific. Thanks for having me. We have a group of guys, coaches that have a little texting group. We have so much fun. And a lot of these guys are sitting right here. So there'll be some tales to be told after this event as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if the competitive side has come out and any of you guys yet. I'm guessing you guys get all excited and ramped up whenever you guys meet each other on the actual court. How are you tonight in terms of intensity level? Like just seeing these guys, are you all riled up and ready to go, or what's coming to mind right now?
Yeah, of course. It brings, when you're playing against the best, you want to beat the best. So we want bragging rights, every one of us here today.
All right. And then tonight, for the first time on one of the big time hoops fantasy drafts, we got a draft expert. We got Michael Hoffer joining us, writer for the Portland Press and the Forecaster. Michael, how are you? How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm just excited to talk some basketball. I mean, normally I'd be at a game right now and, everyone would be all fired up about the season. So I guess if we can't play it, we can talk about it. But, I've spent a lot of time covering these gentlemen's games and, seeing them smile after big victories and occasionally not smile after some tough losses. But we've got a lot of victories and a lot of championships here on the screen tonight. I'm just honored to be a part of this. Looking forward to it.
So I've spent a lot of time talking to players and coaches as of late, just getting their input on what it's been like, just being so out of the norm with season being delayed and stuff like that. As a reporter, what's it been like for you?
Well, I'm still playing catch up from fall. So actually, I'm lucky where I can kind of stretch things out a little bit and still give out some fall awards. And normally it leads right into winter previews and games, which isn't the case this year. But hopefully things will be up and gearing up by the time January gets here, and then we'll be right into winter. But the spring was certainly tough, and there was nothing for months and months and months, and hoping to avoid another long gap like that.
Absolutely. So I don't know about you guys. I'm excited. I'm excited for this. I was looking at the potential draft pool. It's deep. This is the deepest draft part I've ever been a part of, and I'm excited to see where guys go. I'm excited to see if you guys pick players that you've had or which direction to go. If you try to steal some of these other guys as players, it's going to be exciting. But the first order of business is figuring out what the draft order is going to be. So real quick, I'll explain the rules for the fans out there, the people watching. We're going to do a 6-player draft per team. So I'm going to, 6 times 4, 24. 24-player draft. Basically, they're going to draft a starting 5 and then a 6-man. And it's going to be a snake draft, which means the order will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoever gets the 4th pick will get the 5th pick and come back down that way. So if you guys have seen some of the other fantasy drafts we've done, it's going to be the same way. And the talent pool tonight, we're doing Class A and Class AA from 2010 to 2020. So the way we're doing it is whatever schools are classified currently as here in 2020, you can pick players from any one of those schools from 2010 to 2020, basically. So with the reclassifications and schools shuffling around, it's kind of tough to keep track of where everyone was at the time. But just think of it as whoever classes or schools are currently classified, we're picking players from those schools from 2010 to 2020. All right. So first order of business is the draft lottery. And I got all of our captains right here. And let's see who's going to go first. Or this is going to be the 4th pick. So the 4th pick is going to go to Mike. Mike gets the 4th pick. The 3rd pick is going to go to Bill. The 2nd pick is going to go to Laughn Berthiaume, which means Nate Pelletier is going to get the number 1 overall pick. Real quick before we get into it, I'm going to bring in our draft expert, Mike. Mr. Hoffer, do you have like a top 5 on your big board? Who are the top 5 potential picks out there you think, in your opinion? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, let me say this. If I were a betting man, I have a feeling who each of the first 3 gentlemen for sure are going to pick. And I don't want to steal their thunder by mentioning any names, but I'm curious as we get this going here, as Laughn, Nate, and Billy all pick their first pick. I have a feeling I know which way they're going to be going, all 3 of them. So, with no further ado, let's get this going.
Absolutely. So with the first overall pick in the Big Time Hoops Girls Fantasy Draft 2010 to 2020, Nate, you were on the clock. Who's your first selection?
Well, I've got 9 girls here that all could be the first pick. I guess, it's one of those things where as a coach, you do it for a long time, and at some point you've got to be as loyal as possible because these kids are loyal to you, and there's no reason that I should not pick Julia Kobe as my first pick.
That would have been my guess, and a great pick, and what a winner she was for you. Just a great big game player who seems like she'd always come up with a big shot when needed, and she did so many of the little things, which I know not everyone noticed. Everyone looks at the point scoring, and she certainly did plenty of that. But how many times in big games when you needed a big defensive effort or a steal or even a rebound or something like that, there was Julia Colby breaking Scarborough's heart or South Portland's heart or somebody else at Portland, making so many big plays in those tournament games the last couple of years.
I mean, what I look at is, as a coach and looking at her as a player, she played her biggest games in the biggest moments in her career. So it's tough to not pick her as number 1.
All right. And just some quick things to throw out there. So that's the reigning Miss Basketball. She's off the board. So out of these potential players that can be drafted, I did the research today. 8 Miss Basketballs are available. We got 9 Gatorade Player of the Years and 108 out of the 150 Bangor Daily News all-state team selections are girls that are in this draft pool. So it's deep. In 2020, Miss Basketball's off the board. So moving on to Laughn with the second pick. Who are you going with?
I brought my hat in case I got the first pick, so I was going to throw that on. But, no, I mean, Mackenzie Holmes was a USA Today All-American. She finished as the all-time leading scorer for us, almost 1,800 points, over 1,000 boards. She actually scored 1,000 points in her last 2 seasons. She made the Big Ten freshman team at Indiana, and her jersey's currently hanging in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. So I'm going with Mackenzie Holmes.
Yeah, great choice. As expected, I figured you would go in that direction. And how nice is it to see a player from Maine? We've seen so many players from Maine go on and play at the next level, which I think is a real testament to girls basketball and to you coaches. But to see someone at Mackenzie's level, not just play, but excel so quickly. I can only imagine the amount of pride you feel, Coach, and everyone else in the town of Gorham.
It's certainly fun to watch the games, and I'm excited for her. And she's she hasn't changed a bit. She's still the fun-loving kid that enjoys her teammates, and she's just having fun out there. So it's been fun to watch.
All right, so another big name off the board. We're going to Bill for the third pick. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Allie Clement. I coached her for 3 years. We lost 1 game, and the game we lost, after that game, she asked me to open the school up, and this is like 8:30 at night, and she invited a friend to come rebound for her. She put herself through a workout, did 18s, did running. I mean, she was pissed, and that's the one game. And to be honest with you, she had no fault in that game. We were up pretty good, and I took the gas off. And next thing I know, I knew the other team was not going to give up, and they didn't, and we lost. But Allie was she kept her mouth shut. She went into that gym and worked for an hour and a half, and 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, Allie, you got to go home. So, but the girl, I mean, she's 20 points, 5 assists, rebounding. Most clutch player I've seen. I would say at least 7 or 8 times late in the quarter or a half, I'd put her in with under 7 seconds left to go get a shot up, and she made the shot a lot. It's incredible and fitting. I know Nate doesn't want to hear this, but
you don't have to remind me of this, Bill. All right?
She was in foul trouble against Nate in the state championship, and with 7 seconds left, I did it again, and I put her out there, and she went length of the court and drained a 3 right at the buzzer. It's just funny how we always did it, and then her last game, that's what she did. The girl is I think she had the respect of all the coaches. She's probably the fastest player I've ever seen. And there's been some speed out there, but this girl is fast and so coachable. I really was lucky to be able to coach her.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned how clutch she was. I think her freshman year, hitting a 3 to tie Deering, and then Macaulay goes on to win her overtime. I think she did it again sophomore year. And she was just a winner like no one else, and just so wise beyond her years in a basketball sense. A lot of fun to watch, and there's a reason she won 4 straight titles, and there's a reason you won 3 straight with her. And I know I had a feeling you were going to go with her, considering what a great winner she was for you.
All right, so
and she's a great kid. I mean, it's a total package.
Yeah.
Total package.
All right, so 3 picks in. I don't think any surprises yet. I think everyone's gotten who they want so far too. So now we're going to Mike with the 4th pick. Some big names off the board. Where are you going to go with your first pick?
Get the next 2, right, Tom?
Yeah, you get the next 2.
Okay. My first selection is, and I think success of any basketball team starts at the point guard position. And I'll take Yana DeWolf.
Yeah, great choice.
So also another one of those kids from Maine doing great things at the next level right now, and off to a great start. Mike, you have anything you want to add to that?
and another person who not only was a phenomenal player, but just a phenomenal young lady. And I mean, all eyes in Cumberland and North Yarmouth were on her from the second she laced it up as a freshman. And, it's amazing how many young kids in that community looked up to her. And they certainly had a great role model because she was fabulous in blowout games, fabulous in big games. And she's gone on to be quite the star at Fordham as well, which I don't think surprises any of us.
All right. So, Mike, we're right back to you with your next pick. And I'm curious. I should have asked you guys at the beginning, what's your thought process? Are you just drafting best available, or are you going to try to build your team in a certain way? What are you looking at in terms of strategy?
I'm going best available, and the way the game is gone these days, where you can play 5-out offense, you don't need a post. So if the best available is 5 guards, that's the way we're going to play.
Okay. So we're right back to you.
Think?
We're right back to you with your next pick, the 5th overall. Who are you going to match up with Anna DeWolf?
I'm gonna have her join the Esposito.
Oh.
Another tremendous winner, gritty kid. Refused to lose, and I'm sure Laughn could speak hours on it. But that's the kid that's I'd like on my team.
Yeah, I mean, she, at Villanova, she made the Big East freshman team. I mean, she scored almost 1,500 points, and we had 73 wins when she was in the lineup. So, not excited that she's on somebody else's team. I really enjoyed having her on mine.
I bet.
Yeah, are you upset? Were you hoping she'd fall to you, or were you trying to draft all Gorham, or what?
Well, the funny thing is, there's a lot of Gorham kids I'd like to have, and like I said, having these kids on your team for so long, you're grown accustomed to what they do to prepare to win, and the thought of trying to game plan and play against them isn't something that I've had to do. So, if I had to play against her, I think it would be difficult.
Okay. And Mr. Hoffer, you had an idea where the first 3 picks are going. Now we're kind of in uncharted territory in where these guys are going to go. We just saw one coach lose one of his players. Any idea where these guys are going to go next? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, he won't be the last one to lose. No, I mean, you're talking to the cream of the crop, and all 24 girls who get drafted tonight, I think we're all special, unique players. But I think you'd have a hard time coming up with a top 5 list to top the numbers that have been picked so far and the quality of players who've been picked so far. So great start to this for sure.
All right. And we're back to Bill with the number 6 pick.
I'm going to go with the 2012 Miss Maine player. She, I coached her 1 year, Alexa Coulombe. I'm coaching to win. And this girl, first of all, she's probably the best one of the best captains I've had on a team. She was another coach. Incredible. Like, she scored maybe 10 points a game, but it was 8 rebounds a game, 5 blocks a game, 6 assists a game. She filled the stat sheet. She did everything. And no matter if we're playing the game now or 10 years ago, this girl could guard a guard. She was a shot blocker in the post. She was awesome. She really was. And she went to BC and played in the ACC. And I remember seeing her guard. I went to a game once, and she's guarding a girl, I think 80 pounds heavier than her. And she did not back it. And that girl did not score on her. And she was, I think, captain, maybe junior, but she was captain of the BC Eagles her senior year. It tells you she's an amazing leader. Like, whenever she talks, I listen. She's a champion. But her ability to fill a stat sheet still to this day is just awesome. I like her, the way she helps a team win.
Okay.
Yeah, Alexa, I mean, she got it done no matter what needed to get done. And Macaulay hadn't won in 8 years until she was part of that. She won back-to-back. And then, of course, they went on to win a couple more. But, you could just see the hunger to win that year, that 2010-11 season. And, of course, Gorham knocked Macaulay off late that year, a big upset. And that might have been the best thing that happened to them to kind of refocus and go on that title run. But, terrific player in high school and another great person who went on to have great success in college.
Okay. Laughn, we're back to you. Who are you going to match? Who are you going to pair up with Mackenzie Holmes, who was your first pick?
So I'm going to go with a player that was always somebody that when we played against was we had the game plan for, very difficult, somebody tough to handle, seemed to get better and better every year, very versatile. At Bowdoin this year was the National Player of the Year in Division III, scored over 1,300 points, and is, I believe, currently playing pro in Ireland. I'm going with Maddie Hassan.
Yeah, she had a great high school career, but did she ever take it to the next level at Bowdoin? And this is, a high quality level of D3 basketball, where she just become an absolute star, transcendent, and got the well-deserved honors last year of the National Player of the Year. I mean, that's sensational at any level.
Yeah, and I think we talked about a lot of the girls that we have at the Division I level doing good things, but it doesn't just stop there. We got girls at D3 doing great things, girls at D2 doing great things. Just a ton of talent from Maine in general. So, all right, good pick right there by Laughn. We're back to Nate with the 8th overall pick to match up with Julia Colby. Who are you going with?
Geez, it feels like forever since I picked. I'm not sure I like the system.
You get the next two picks, though. You got 8 and 9.
Yeah, I got 2 picks. That's good. My next pick, I'm going to go with a player that when I coached against is probably one of the hardest to game plan against. She had a knack for getting to the foul line. Didn't matter who you put on her. They were always going to be in foul trouble. And that's from Lawrence, Nia Irving. Went on to play at BU. Just overall a great person, but just it was impossible to guard her.
Yeah. I only got to see her down here a couple of times, during tournaments, but you could see she was at a very high level, and it was a lot of fun to watch the few times I did get to see her.
She just had that sort of drive, miss a shot. She always seemed to get her own rebound, put it back in, and with an and one, it just was nonstop. It was like a machine.
Another Miss Basketball, too. So Miss Basketball is going left and right here on the draft. And we're back to Nate with the 9th pick to go with Julia and Nia. Who you going to add?
I got a couple choices here. I'm going to go with a player that I really only got to see once, and it happened to be in a state championship game, one of my earlier years. But this is a player from Deering, Kayla Burchill.
Oh.
That was for Bill.
Almost, Billy, almost.
Yes. I mean, just absolutely dominated the game, inside and out. She go to UVM.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a great player.
Right. I mean, she stepped right in as a freshman, and you could see she was at a different level. And she was just a big game champion player. And, I mean, she could have very easily won 4 state titles. It was very, very close. And she was just terrific from the get-go.
All right. So that's 3 picks, 3 Mrs. Basketballs on Nate's team. He's stacked with the Miss Basketballs. We're back to Laughn with the 10th pick to go with Mackenzie and Maddie. Who are you going to add?
So I'm glad this player's around. One of mine. She was the 2011 Female Athlete of the Year in the state of Maine. So, a little bit of a late bloomer in basketball, but her senior year scored 454 points for me, which was, the point total was only behind Mackenzie Holmes for 2 years. Probably could have taken a Division I basketball scholarship if she didn't go D1 in lacrosse. She scored 110 goals in lacrosse in 1 season. So this is Mia Rapola.
Yeah. Yeah, she, as I remember, Coach, played a big role in that game where you did beat McCauley, and I think of her on the lacrosse field too. Back when Scarborough was absolutely the gold standard, and she'd score 8-10 goals and almost single-handedly beat them. So, just a terrific all-around athlete, and a lot of fun to watch.
All right, we're back to Bill with the 11th pick. Sounded like that Burchill pick hurt a little bit. Looked like she might have been on your radar. Who are you going to add with got the all McCauley team going right now with Allie and Alexa. Who are you going to add?
Yeah, no, I was at Daring her freshman year, Kayla's freshman year, and she was awesome. I'm going to go with a girl I almost coached. That was at Greeley, and she was coming in as a freshman. an amazing kid, but she was a great player. I think she's one of the top, maybe big girls the state scene. Ashley Story. She did everything. She could dribble. She was like a guard in elementary school when I was there. She was a guard, but she was, I don't know, 6'3", 6'2", 6'3". She can shoot threes. She passes. She scored. She helped really finally get over the hump and win a state title. But this girl does it all. And she went to UNH, and she did very, very well there. She's a great player, great kid. And I remember watching, I was like, she really didn't have a weakness. She, with the team, the Grilly team she had, I knew all these girls because they were in my kid camps, and I was like, they're going to be good. And I remember watching her one year, and she just stood in the middle. She'd shoot sometimes and scored. Sometimes she'd kick it out. And they were potent offense when she played, but she was the leader of that whole thing. Great player.
What does this list say if she's 11th on it? The 11th player pick.
Right. I mean, I think she's one of the top. I mean, I know Mackenzie Holmes, but
yeah,
she's right behind her as everything, right?
Yeah, she was great, and like so many of these girls that we've talked about, just totally unassuming, no ego, great leaders, happy to defer to their teammates, and that's kind of what makes so many of these kids special. We know the basketball talent's very evident, but it goes well beyond that.
All right. So we're back to Mike with the 12th pick. Your team's got a lot of buckets. You got Anna DeWolf and Emily Esposito. Who are you going to add to that lineup?
We're going to add some size to our team, Tom.
Okay.
We're going to go with Emily Archibald out of Kennybrook.
Oh, good call.
Right.
A kid who can play the point, play the wing, or play inside. So we still can play that 5 out with her. And, the sky's the limit with what's in it.
Yeah, another great multi-sport athlete. I mean, she was a terrific lacrosse player too. I think she stopped to focus on basketball, and she even played soccer early on in her high school career. But we haven't heard the last of her for sure. And I know she's in for a big final season, hopefully as many games as possible.
Yeah, the reigning Gatorade Player of the Year, got it as a junior, which is kind of rare, and off to Providence next year. So definitely big things. Nothing but big things for her. Mike, back to you with the 13th pick.
Yeah, this one's going to surprise a few people, but we matched up against her a couple of times, and she didn't have an awful lot of help on her team, and she was almost averaging 30 points. Smart and out of Biddeford. I think she's at Harvard. She's rehabbing a knee, but she just could score inside, outside, and anywhere. And we would throw kids at her and still couldn't find a way to stop her. So Grace Martin.
Yeah, just the kind of player that you want as a leader on your team. She was a terrific volleyball player as well. And, you're right. She didn't have maybe the quality of support that a lot of these other girls did. But I think whenever you match up against a player like that, even if you're a heavy favorite, someone like her can go off for 30 points and your best plans can be derailed just like that.
Like that pick, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks.
She's next on Big Time. She's actually coming on tomorrow night. She's actually my next guest.
Great.
So good little.
Awesome.
So we're back to Bill with the 14th pick to add to Allie, Alexa, and Ashley. Who's your next selection?
I'm going to go with a girl, another winner, a scorer, a girl out of Scarborough, Christy Manning. 2010 Miss Maine. This girl did it all. Her mom was pretty talented too. She scored, she played D, she rebounded. She was clutch. Great kid. Love watching her play. I'm sure Mike knows her a little bit too. He could probably speak about her.
I just remember she was the anchor of that undefeated championship team they had in 2010 when Scarborough didn't lose a game in any female sport that year. It seemed like it was crazy. Soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, softball, they went undefeated in just about every sport. But that basketball team was special, and It's the best team that Scarborough's ever had. The one a couple of years ago, Coach G was pretty close. But that, they're the one that's everyone's chasing historically, and certainly she's the reason for it. And pretty impressive bloodlines, too, because her mother might still be the best player to ever come out of the state. I think you might find some people that would still make that argument.
Okay. Laughn, we're back to you with the 15th pick to add to Mackenzie, Maddie, and Mia.
All right. I'm going with a girl who won a state championship. Scored 1,000 points in high school, 1,000 points in college, playing at Northeastern, and now is playing pro in, I think, France now. I think she's played in Spain and France. I'm going with Shannon Todd out of York.
Yeah, those York teams, as Coach Goodman knows, were tough and broke a lot of hearts there back earlier in the last decade. And Coach Clark had some terrific players, but she was as tenacious as anybody and just a winner. I think you look at winner in the main basketball dictionary, and her face would certainly be one of those that shows up.
All right, we're back to Nate. I saw you nodding your head before he even made his selection. Was she on your radar, or did you just happen to know?
She was on my radar. Yes, that was a great pick.
Okay, so we're back to you with the sixth
championship game when she played against Nia Irving was absolutely incredible down there.
Yeah,
I think
drama.
The final score was like 77, 75 or something. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. So back to
all right. So
16th pick.
16th pick. I'm going to bring it back home here. Probably one of the most, I'd say, dominant post players I've had in my time. Just was a force defensively, and her senior year picked it up offensively, and then in college was a force. I'm going with Tiana Sugars. Great kid. Defensively, probably one of the best I've ever coached. She allowed us to do a lot of things on the defensive end because she could just man the middle. I got a lot of length here.
Yeah. She was
That's
really
all right.
She was
To
really
match
part
up
of that.
against that, Coach.
Yeah, Coach. I mean, she was really part of that group that kind of put you guys on the map or cemented your status as a perennial title contender, wasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she was that centerpiece. I had a couple other players there too, but she definitely was one of my best players I've ever had, and I'm thankful she was part of our program.
So we're right back to you with the 17th pick. So this is going to round out your starting five. So Julia Kobe, Nia Irving, Kayla Birchill, Tiana Sugars, and then one more to round out that five. Where are you going to go with this one?
Well, if I'm going to have a starting five, I need another guard here, and there's only one person that's going to be able to play incredibly with Julia Colby, and that's going to be Cecilia Dietrich.
Okay.
Those two combo for their whole careers have just been absolutely incredible. Cecilia is the type of kid that I've always said that if doesn't matter what sport I'm playing, doesn't matter if it's cricket, ping pong, she's going to be my first pick because she's probably one of the most competitive kids I've ever been a part of. She just wants to win, and she'll find a way to win even though she doesn't know how to play a sport. So she's going to Carnegie Mellon right now and playing soccer, isn't even going to play basketball. And I had hundreds of coaches that wanted her to play basketball, but she's a soccer player through and through, but just absolute incredible competitor for me.
How many dagger shots did she hit for you? I could think of so many times, maybe someone would be focusing on Julia a little bit. Cecilia would find herself open, and you knew she was going to hit the shot every time, and I swear she did.
Yeah, I mean, she came up with some big moments for us, but her and Julia never came off the floor for me. They were able to play the whole game all the time, never needed a break, and it definitely made coaching a lot easier.
I'm guessing you'll take that. Go ahead, Laughn.
I was also going to say that I think what she brought to your teams defensively was incredible. An extreme competitor, and as tough as they come.
Absolutely.
Great backcourt right there. Good 5-2. I'm anxious to see where you go with your last pick when we come back around. But before we do that, we're back to Laughn with the 18th pick to round out your starting five to go with Mackenzie Holmes, Maddie Haston, Mia Rapola, Shannon Todd. One more pick. Who's it going to be?
All right. I'm going with a girl that can just fill it up. She was All-State twice, scored almost 1,400 points in high school. She's approaching 1,000 points at Franklin Pierce. I'm going with Sophie Holmes from Messalonsky.
She's a kid that would just come over half court and just let it fly. Anywhere over half court, she would let it fly, and it was going in more times than not.
She must have watched the Anderson girls.
Yeah,
that's where it started.
Exactly. Correct.
Yeah. Never out of range, right?
Never out of range.
In the gym.
All right. Back to Bill. To round out your starting five, to go with Allie Clement, Alexa Colombe, Ashley Story, Christy Manning. One more to round up the five.
This is tough. I'm gonna go with Victoria Lux.
Okay.
Victoria Lux. She's gonna get me 10 rebounds a game, 10 points a game. I know she went on to Bentley and just kicked butt there. This girl was a winner. She could have scored more. She really could have, but she moved. She helped whenever we got the ball in her post. She moved it around. I know Nate doesn't want to hear this, but she had a really great.
Everybody had a great game versus us. We know, Bill. All right.
Victoria just that state game was clutch, and the Bangor game she was clutch, and she came up big in the Coney. Her first game as a freshman, I put her. She was like the sixth man, but she was out there a lot like a starter. And every state game, and during COVID, I was able to go back and watch them all. Victoria was producing in every state game. She produced throughout the year anyway. But this girl's a winner, very unselfish. She would pass the ball everywhere, and she did it all.
Yeah, some people seem like they're just natural in the post position. Some need to get some tutoring and some fine tuning, but it seemed like she just stepped right in, even as a freshman, and knew what to do. And she would defer to her older teammates certainly, but you could see that she had the talent, that she was really going to become something special, and it didn't take long for her to reach that.
Okay. Back to Mike for the 20th pick to go along with Anna DeWolf, Emily Esposito, Emily Archibald, Grace Martin. One more to round out your five.
We're going to end the starting five with Nikki Taylor from York.
Another great choice.
Just a bruiser. I think went on to play at UVM. Just such a physical kid. And like an Aya Irving type of kid. She's going to score, and you could foul her, and she's going to make the foul shot too. That type of kid. And it certainly helped York to many years of success down there.
Hey, Nate. Hey, Mike just got back for you because that girl was, I'm telling you, we could not beat. My Greeley team, I think, lost 9 games, 8 of them to York. Nikki Taylor is in my nightmares. This girl dominated, and she just played with my team every time. She was awesome.
Right. It was kind of a mental thing not that she wasn't a great player, but I think, you lose to someone so many times and you see them just dominate you completely. It's pretty tough to get over that hump. But when I think of those York teams, she and Shannon are the ones that really come to mind, first of all.
Mike, you might have 8,000 points in your starting lineup.
It's the name of the game, right?
Exactly. Score more than the other team.
So I'm glad Bill brought up Nightmare, because I want to do a little something here before we get to the final picks. We're going to do a couple of random things before we make the final picks for the fantasy draft. Nightmares. So there's a bunch of Nightmare players in here. You guys have had nightmares for other coaches to prepare against. You've had to prepare against some of these nightmares. So I want to just kind of go around and see who were some of these other Nightmare players that you guys have matched up during this time. So, Bill, you mentioned Nikki. Is there anyone else who comes to mind? You had a lot of players that gave some of these coaches nightmares, but who else gave you personally nightmares having to prepare for them?
Yeah, Nikki Taylor, and you can't say her without saying Steph Gallagher. Mm-hmm. I remember one game we did an amazing job on her. 0 points in the first half. Second half, she had 4 threes in the third quarter. I don't know who woke her up, but she just, the girl went to USM. The girl's a great player. I did Megan Gribben from Wyndham. That girl that girl could score, triple threat. You really had to. If I didn't have the best, I think, defender in the state that year, say DePiero, which they ended up being teammates and winning 4 division titles down at UNE. Megan Griffin was tough to guard against, coach against. And over the I'll tell you, last year, the 2 Nate had, Julia and I'm going blank. Dietrich. I mean, those are special scores. You got to just totally. If you don't got them for a minute, they're going to score 6 points. So they were tough to go against. Obviously, Holmes and Espo for Gorham were impossible to. I mean, my teams did well a couple games, but they're impossible to guard. And you had to go all out to try to stop them. They were tough. They were tough to plan against. And I'll tell you that the Scarborough team, Mike G had a couple years ago, they had 5 scorers out there at once, 5 girls that could score from anywhere. A couple years ago when they went to state, he did a great job with them, and they were tough to coach against.
How about you, Mike? Mike G, who are some of the players that you've had to prepare against and just gave you nightmares? I'm guessing some of the same ones. But
I would say number one, I think she's the best back to the basket player the state's ever. And she's just a nightmare. She's as good with her left. She's probably better with her left hand than she was her right. So, sometimes you try and take something away from an opponent and make them use something that they're not as strong at. And she was just equally strong both ways. And then as she became older, her junior and senior year, she started to add some depth to her shooting. And she was just the nightmare to try and defend. Another one wore the same colors, and that's Emily Esposito. Just a winner, a gritty kid, and she'd find a way to beat you anywhere, anytime. And so those 2 kids really come to mind. The other kid was Maddie Hassan. I think Maddie was very difficult to pair against because she could just do so many things. Those three kids, and then obviously one last one would be Julia Cole. Had no answer in the state game for her, and we tried everybody. And she ended up setting a record. I think she scored 32 in the state game. So those girls sweat and feels to me on some winter nights.
How about you, Nate? Nate, you had a couple girls that gave people nightmares, but who were some of the ones that gave you nightmares?
I mean, early in the 2000s, obviously it was Nia Irving. It didn't matter what we did to plan against her. She was going to get her 20 points, 20 rebounds. Mackenzie Holmes is a player that everybody's got to play against or plan against. And you can't even double team. You got a triple team. And it just became a nightmare because you couldn't keep yourself defensively sound when she was on the floor. And then, sort of our Achilles heel over the last couple of years has been Greeley, and planning for Anna DeWolf is just a totally different monster. She could beat you in so many different ways, whether it was finding her open teammates because you're trying to double down because she's going to the basket. She could hit the 3. She was an incredible passer, absolutely incredible passer. So those are probably the top 3 for me.
And Laughn, how about you?
Yeah, I don't have any real new names for you. Anna DeWolf, like Nate was saying, you double team her and she could split the double team and find the open person. She could. She's almost like that kind of passer, like Larry Bird, where she could ball fake and get people going one way and then take her own shot. Allie Clement was probably the first one that I was coaching against that really made you go home at night and go, okay, I've tried everything I've known. I got to figure out something else. And, you try something, it wouldn't work. You try something else, it wouldn't work. And you just keep going back to the drawing board. And, sometimes she made you wonder if you actually knew what you were doing coaching. And then Julia Colby, very similar to that. And she, she got better and better every year. She was their starting point guard as a freshman. And so, there were times, probably like with Mackenzie Holmes and Emily Esposito that started as freshmen that as a coach, I'm going, man, is she just going to graduate anytime soon? I want to get her off the floor. and then Maddie Hassan. Maddie Hassan, we played South Portland so many times, and I have the ultimate respect for her and how hard she works and what she does. And she was just such a unique player. She could kind of get into the lane, and she had such body control, but did it at her own pace. It's not like she was ever really really sprinting by you, but she got to her spots and she used her body, and she was able to get to the free throw line and score anyway. So, those would be the four that we played against that were really difficult and kept me up at night.
All right. Hey, Mike H., did they miss anyone, or did they nail it all, you think?
No, they nailed it all. I'd say Mike Nightmare is having to interview Billy after a loss. That's that's never fun. He doesn't lose very often, so that's a good thing. But
all right, so we got one more round to go here. So we're gonna draft a sixth person to come off the bench, and before we do that, bring Mike H back in. Hey, based off what we have drafted so far, is there one team maybe further ahead than everyone else, or do you think it's pretty evenly balanced so far?
Well, I mean, you have incredible talent across the board here, but I look at Coach Giordano's team, and like we say, the scoring's the name of the game, and how are you going to slow a team like that down? I know a lot of you coaches pride yourself on defense, and that's going to be one heck of a chore to try to slow them down somewhat. But I certainly would take my chances with that kind of firepower.
Okay. So we'll see what this last round takes us here, and if it pushes anyone over the top here. So right back to Mike. To recap real quick, Anna DeWolf, Emily Esposito, Emily Archibald, Grace Martin, and Nikki Taylor. Who's going to come off the bench?
Another one, I'm going to take Maggie Whitmore from South Portland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another, you can do all things offensively from pretty much any position, and she can defend anybody from pretty much any position. So having her come off the bench, the train doesn't slow down at all.
I was, I have a few names in my head of girls I haven't heard yet, and Maggie was certainly at the top of that list. I had a feeling she was going to get picked at some point, but what a great career she had, and finally getting South Portland that last step to the state game, and she had a phenomenal career.
All right, good pick right there. The 22nd pick here, we're going back to Bill to add to Allie Clement, Alexa Colombe, Ashley Story, Christy Manning, Victoria Lux. You have one more pick. Who are you going to round out your squad with?
All right, I'm going to go. She was my sixth man her freshman year. Obviously, I got enough size to go high-low, and we're gonna pound it inside, and we're gonna go old-fashioned, try to win low-scoring games. But I'm going to go with a girl who shot 46% from three her freshman year, had 26 points one game. And to be honest with you, she wasn't Allie, but her sister Sarah Clement was just a great scorer, and she knew the game. And she was like a natural point guard. Unfortunately, she had injuries. But her freshman year, we faced box and ones. We faced all the junk defense against Allie. I remember one game down in Sanford, great coach there. I'm going blank.
Christy Parent.
Christy Parent, great coach. She had a great plan against us. And we ran an offense where Sarah she was 4 for 4 shooting threes. And I think Christy was scratching her head there because she really stifled Allie that game. And she had a great game plan, but she had 4 threes. I know in the state game at Bangor, Sarah made a clutch 3 early in the game. There was one game, Allie, I think, had 25, and Sarah had 26. This girl was a special player. I felt so bad for her to go through all the injuries she did. Unfortunately, it's a part of the game. I know her junior year, she sank 2 threes to get us going against South Portland. I think we upset South Portland in the semis that year. And Sarah had 2 threes. She's on fire. She was back. And then she drove the lane and tore ACL again. If this girl was healthy for 4 years, she would have she was just an incredible natural basketball player. She really was.
Billy said it all. And the only thing I'd really add is, she's really one of the great what-ifs in Maine high school basketball history. Because she certainly would have gone down as one of the great players, along with both of her sisters, but certainly her older sister. And she certainly lived up to the lineage in the amount of time she was able to play.
All right. Solid pick right there. Great value at the end of the draft here. A couple more picks to go back to Laughn. 23rd overall pick to go with Mackenzie, Maddie Hassan, Mia Rapola, Shannon Todd, Sophie Holmes was your last pick.
All right, so I think it's always important when you have a very talented team to have that person that is selfless, person that's going to do the little things. This girl played for me, was part of our state championship teams. When Mackenzie and Emily were scoring, she didn't have to score, but she was always the kid that was the difference maker. I'm going with Kaylee Lundeen. She was my point guard. Tough, quick. She had an extra gear in the open floor that a lot of kids just don't have. You'd think you'd have her bottled up, and she was able to shift gears and go by. And honestly, we don't win those state championships if we don't have her. She went to the University of Tampa, and she was toying with the idea of if she wanted to try to play there or not. Ultimately, she decided not to, but I felt so strongly that she could play for them that I went to the University of Tampa, and I showed up and I walked into the coach's office, and he didn't know who the heck I was. I just showed up and I said, I've got a girl that I really think can play for you. I was that high on her, and she's a kid I'll go to battle with any day. So Kaylee Lundeen.
Yeah, what a great X factor, and how much fun to watch. I mean, just some people just have the joy when they're out on the floor, and they're constantly giving 110%. And I know as the coach, you can't ask for anything more, but as kind of a neutral observer and someone that didn't see a lot of your games, she would always stand out to me when I covered Gorham games. I mean, obviously Emily and Mackenzie are superstars and get a lot of deserved attention, but you get to see other players step up like that, and that was just always a lot of fun.
All right, we're back to Nate with the last pick in the draft, 24th overall to go with Julia Kobe, Nia Irving, Kayla Burchill, Tiana Sugar, Cecilia Dietrich. One more pick. Who's it going to be?
So looking at my team, knowing that Julia and Cecilia don't have to come off the floor ever, I can go with some more length here. I kind of like the length situation. So I'm going to go up north here and take Mary Butler from Bangor. She's one of those matchup nightmares. She was like a 6'1", 6'2" point guard for them. Dribble the ball up the floor, could shoot the three, could post up. Just absolutely dominant. Went to Brown University, had a great career there. When you think about players coming out of Bangor, she's definitely tops on my list.
Yeah, she was on my list too. She was a great player.
Yeah.
All right. So we've had 24 players drafted. I'm guessing we could have drafted 24 more. There's just so much talent. So I'll bring Michael H. back in. You mentioned you had some names scribbled down, wondering if they're going to be picked or not. And this is no disrespect to them. It just goes to show you how deep this draft pool was. But who were some more of the names that you had that didn't get drafted?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great names, including one that played for Coach Girodana. Sophie Glidden came to mind. Megan Graff from South Portland, who went on and played very well at Bates. I think about Amanda Cabantu and Jemima Motima at Portland coming into their senior year, just phenomenal athletes. You've got one of the best three-point shooters around in Camille Clement. And I know I'm overlooking a lot of them. Someone mentioned, I think, Billy, you mentioned Megan Gribben earlier. I think it just, as I alluded to earlier, it just goes to show how healthy Maine high school girls basketball is right now and has been for a long time, and how much talent the state produces. And it's really a testament to the communities and the coaches and the kids themselves that we have so many great players to talk about.
Absolutely. So I just want to go back around and just pick your guys' brains on how you feel like you did with your team, and if there's anything you would have done different, if you're pretty happy. So we'll go back to Mike G. Looking at your roster, I'm guessing you're happy, right?
I'm thrilled, and it's amazing to me to have the fourth pick in the draft and get Anna DeWolf. So I was pretty pleased with that. Yes, we can score, but those kids that I got, Archibald Martin, they can defend as well. Yeah. So I like our chances stepping on the floor against the other teams.
Okay. And Bill, how about you? Are you happy with the way your team rounded out? Is there anything you would have done differently, or did things go how you wanted it to?
No, I mean, I wanted Anna DeWolf too. So, no, Anna, when I was at Greeley, she was in third, fourth grade. She was out halftime. shooting and dribbling, and everyone's watching her. I was like, she could play for us now. She and I was lucky enough to know her from the kid camps and stuff. And I'll tell you, that girl's a great kid. As far as my team, I just chose winners. These girls win. We're going to have Alexa guard out on the wings, and Allie and Lux and Christy and Ashley will be. I know I saw Lux and Ashley Story play on the Firecrackers a lot, and those two were tough to stop. Lux and Ashley Story were almost impossible to guard, high-low, pounding inside. And Christy Manning, great score. I love my team.
Okay. Laughn, how about you?
I'm equally as happy. I feel like if you took these 24 players and just put them in a hat and had us all pick out of them, we'd all be happy with our teams anyway. I think each team has a good mix of hard hustle, defense, scoring. And again, I think you've got 24 top-notch kids as well as players. So, again, if you mix them up, I think we'd all be very happy with our teams. But absolutely, I'm thrilled with mine.
If anybody came at you with a trade package for Mackenzie Holmes, are you even going to take the phone call? Is there anything that could get you to let Mackenzie know?
There absolutely is not.
That's what I thought. Nate, how about you? And would you put together a trade package for Mackenzie? Are you okay? You okay with your team?
No, you'd have to put together a lot of players, I think, for that. But no, I absolutely love my team. I'm a defensive guy, and I'm just trying to think. This team is going to cause some other teams fits defensively because they're so long. There's not much space left on the court for anybody to go. But no, this is like everybody was saying. It doesn't matter. These 24 kids are all the best of the best. And what's most incredible about it, if you put all the colleges next to their names that they went to, it's some of the top colleges in the country that they've been to. So it just shows, that not only these kids athletes, but they're student athletes, and that is really important to them. So it's pretty incredible that our top athletes are also going to these top big name educational schools as well. Absolutely.
And I'll bring in Michael H here. Can you pick a favorite? Do you have a team that you would pick to win? Do you want to go out and make a prediction? I'm also going to put this up for the fans to vote afterwards, so we'll get the fans' opinion. But do you have a team that you think is a little bit above the other ones?
I don't know. I'd love to see best of five, some kind of round-robin tournament with all these teams. I mean, you could really, honestly, and I'm not trying to buck the question here, you could seriously make a case for all of them. And because, there's so many winners, I think, if somehow we could put something like this together, how much fun would that be? It would really come down to, who's on a given night, who's hitting their shots, who's not hitting their shots. And I think it would be that close. I think if we could play best of fives, best of sevens, it would come down to game 5 and game 7. I really do think it would be that close. So if we can somehow orchestrate this and make it happen, I would love to be there front and center to watch.
Absolutely. So before we get up out of here, I got one more question I want to ask each of you guys, because we've been talking about individual players, but you guys have all been part of some incredible teams. And I think me and Nate talked a bit about this a little bit, how his great Oxford Hills teams match up against the other great teams of the decade. So I'm going to go around and ask you guys. You guys have each had a great team. If you could pick one of the other great teams in this room with one of these coaches, who would you want to battle yourself against and kind of test yourself against? So, Nate, if you had to take your 2019 or 2020 Oxford Hills girls team, which team would you want to go up against just to see where you guys stack up against them? You mentioned Laughn. You mentioned the Gorham girls.
I did mention Laughn. Laughn had that in 2017. That team was absolutely loaded. He did a great job with them. I would love to see my 2020 team try to match up with them. We're definitely not as big. But we definitely play a different style than we did against him in 2017. And I think we could have given him a run for his money.
Okay. Laughn, how about you? Who would you want to take I don't even know which team are you going to pick? Which one's your team you want to take, and who are you going to play against?
Yeah, you know what? The 2016 team and the 2017 team were almost the same team. So I'm almost going to have to go 2017 because we had another year under our belt. I think 2016 it was new, and we were kind of trying to get there. It was different in 2017 when you're trying to defend the championship. But I think the experience there probably makes that 2017 team the one. But I'd like to go up against one of Billy's teams. Billy, the Macaulay teams. We were chasing the Macaulay teams for an awful long time, and they had a number of Division I players on the court at the same time, and they played well together, and they were unselfish. And I think there was an opportunity if they were minus a player or two that the stats could have been even more eye-popping for some of those girls than they were. So I'd say I would take my 2017 team against one of those Macaulay teams.
Okay. So, Bill, which Macaulay team are you going to take, and who do you want to match up against and see where you guys stack up?
I think I'm going to take my 2012 team, Alexa. And this Sadie DePiro, shutdown defender, but she went on to score a lot of points in college. And the girl is awesome. She was just an awesome player. And so that 2012 team, we had Alexa, Sadie, Allie, Olivia Smith, who in her junior year at Bangor had 20 points in a state game, just was amazing. Victoria Lux, Jackie Welch. That team was really, really solid. And
Molly Mack too, Billy. Can't forget Molly, right?
And with Sadie DePiro is Molly Mack. I mean, when Molly Mack graduated, I had a Molly Mack award. This girl was a winner. Senior year, she goes, "Yeah, coach, you don't have to start me." I'm like, "All right, you're going to start." She didn't care. She just wanted to win. So, yeah, Molly Mack, 10 rebounds a game her senior year. I think the girl's just awesome. I'm friends with her to this day. She's a nurse, and she's battling COVID, and what a great player, but great person she is. And to go against, I'll tell you, it's tough because I like to go against Laughn's teams because they're so well coached, and I know he's going to bring something. And to be honest with you, I want to go against Nate's team last year because I know he's talking now, and me and Nate have a very, very I think I respect him a lot, and I could talk to him for hours. But we are very competitive against each other. To be honest with you, I would like to go against my former Deering team with Birchall, Ramones. Well, wait, that wasn't in 2000. Was that?
Yeah, that was the last decade, though, wasn't it? With Nicole Garland, too?
Yeah.
Manduka.
You're bringing up bad
close
memories again. Billy's doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
You guys know that, right?
I mean,
Twisting the knife.
Yeah.
Nate's team last year, and it's a 2017 Gorham team. So, but I got to pick one, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with that Gorham team because Espo was outside, and Holmes is probably gonna go down. I don't know what Lisa Blaze played, but Holmes will probably go down as the best post scorer the state's player, the state's seen. I mean, and I got to tell you, I respect the two of them too. After games, they would be very polite, and I got to talk to Holmes a little last year or year before. She was watching her boyfriend play at Portland. What a classy girl! So I got to go. I got to go against that Gorham team, 2017.
Okay. And then back to Mike G. Which team are you going to take, and which team are you going to play against?
Well, Tom, being probably the elder statesman here, I've been around and played all those teams and didn't have an awful lot of success. So I don't think I want to see any of those teams again. I will take my regional championship team of a couple of years ago and then maybe go back and play one of those Allie Clement teams. I just thought our kids 2 years ago came together as a group and really had to go through the iron of the South to win that championship. It was just a great group to coach. So I probably would like to take that team and face off against one of Billy's Allie Clement teams.
Okay. And then Mike H., how about you as a fan? What would you like to see? What game would you like to see?
I'd like to see all of them. Can we set it up? Now, there's so many great games. One of the things I did back in the spring and summer to pass the time and fill some space was select the top 10 teams from our coverage area over the last 20 years. And I think it was your 2012 team, Billy, right, that we went with as the number one, but there were so many great ones to choose from. And how much fun would it be to get to play, have teams from different eras square off? But, this exercise tonight, this fantasy draft, would kind of cover a lot of those bases. I'm just so lucky that I've gotten to see, all of these championship games and all of these great teams. And, I can only hope that in 10 years we're doing this again for the 2020s, and all this stuff for the last 9 months is just a nightmare, and we're back to normalcy and reality. And I think we're all just itching to get back out on the court and have fans in the stands, and even some of the fans that yell at you guys, I guess you might even want to see them. So let's keep our fingers crossed we're back to normal soon.
Absolutely. All right, before we get up out of here, I always give my guests a chance to say their last word. So first of all, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you to all you guys for doing this. But your chance to say your last piece. We'll start with Nate. You're a veteran. You've been here before. You've been on the podcast. You know the routine. Your last words.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. This has been a great experience, as a coach, all the stuff that's been going on and not really having a great, some of us know summer basketball. Some of us aren't doing any skills and drills right now. Just being able to talk and see each other. We're all really good friends. And just being able to reminisce on some of these great teams and these great players, it's been actually a pretty incredible night. Thank you.
All right. Laughn, the mastermind for making this happen. Your final words before we get up out of here.
No, these are always a lot of fun, Tom. You do a great job. I want to thank you guys for jumping in here and doing this. I think it's I think all of us would say, we're friends. We like to talk hoops, but when we get out on the court, we like to compete too. And so that's the best part, that we can compete. And then when it's over, we kind of shake hands and we're still friends, that kind of thing. I got a chance to listen to Nate's podcast recently, and I love the graphic you put up of him. He looked like a professional wrestler out there, kind of scary. But it's one of those that, Nate's one of the best guys to talk to, great coach and always a lot of fun. One thing you might not know about Billy, I go to games and to scout, and I have my notepad out and I got to write everything down. Billy walks in and he grabs a bag of popcorn and he goes and sits on the top row. He's got a brain like an elephant. He remembers everything. He remembers scoring plays, out of bounds plays, and I've always been jealous of his ability to scout without ever having to write anything down. And then Coach G he's like the godfather of the league. He's been around for a long time, and one of my first experiences when I was kind of a young coach or new at coaching, and just win or lose, being able to sit and talk with him. And, I could get advice from him after a game we lost. I could get advice from him after a game we won, and he'd talk about other teams with me. He'd talk about things that we've done. And so I really appreciate the relationships that I've been able to have with the other coaches around the league. And then Michael Hoffer, you do such a great job covering us, and we're all very appreciative of what you do for our kids and the exposure you give us. I mean, you spend an awful lot of time, and we really, really appreciate everything you do for the game of basketball. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Bill, your last words tonight?
Yeah, no, I appreciate being asked to do this. To be honest with you, I'm late comer to the basketball stuff. I started 18 years ago as assistant first team coach, and then a JV coach and assistant varsity, and then I finally got an opportunity in 2008 with Greeley. But the things that make me a better coach are going against well-coached teams, whether they have talent or not. And I know every time my team plays Laughn's team, he's going to throw something at us, and I better have my team totally prepared. Same thing when all my teams, we played Nate's. I've known Nate when I was assistant at Daring in 2007, 8. I know his team is going to bring something to my team, and we better be prepared. I know Coach G, I've seen his teams, some underdog teams, beat favorite teams. He's going to have the ultimate game plan. I've seen this guy game plan just by being a fan so many times. His underdog team beat favorite teams. A couple of years ago, they unbelievable win against a loaded South Portland team, just a great one. But I'll tell you one thing, there was one way back when I was a fan watching his South Portland team beat Macaulay. And just on and on, those upsets. But I know that these coaches make me a better coach, and I'm serious. Another guy, Mike Murphy, who I coached with a couple years ago, a guy you better be prepared because his team is going to have a game plan against you. And I personally, I like going against good coaches. It's going to make me a better coach. So, and 3 of these guys here tonight made me a better coach. I believe that.
All right. And Mike G, your final words before we get up out of here.
Yep, Tom, thanks for having me tonight. And this was an awful lot of fun, certainly doing it with friends and people that I respect in the coaching ranks. What I would tell you in the 25 years, this will be my 25th year coaching the varsity girls, and the quality of coaching on the girls' side has so improved over the years. These kids today are so fortunate to have the quality of coaches that they have. There are no nights off. I can remember my first couple of years, we didn't really have to prepare for some of the teams you were going to see. But you look at the coaches across the state now on the girls' side, and they're equal to what the boys provide. And I would say in some areas they're better. So to be one of their peers, I have an awful lot of respect for all of them. And we can talk. We do want to compete when the games start. But when they're over, we respect each other enough to know that we both have the same common goal. And that's why I like these guys so much. So, Tom, thanks for what you're doing to keep basketball on the front page, which has been very difficult to do. Mike, you've been doing it for years, and we're so fortunate to have you come to Maine and do what you've done for high school athletics, not just basketball, but all sports. And kids are extremely lucky to have you and what you provide with the passion that you provided. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I mean, think of how many grandparents and parents, because of what Mike Hoffer writes, grandparents and parents get to read about their kids and grandkids because Mike puts it in paper or Twitter, but in paper. And his articles aren't a couple words. They're like thousands. So he gives, what I like about Mike is he gets you 2 stars, but he gets the 8th player into the game, and he's going to interview that girl who might have got a key rebound, 1 rebound in the game, and he'll interview her and give her some spotlight. And that doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. And Mike has a great knack for doing that for the kids.
All right. And Mike, we'll end with you. Your final words before we get up out of here.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Tom, for having me. Laughn, thank you for inviting me. I mean, I'm always happy to talk basketball, and it's a great sport. It's a great way to pass the winter. It's my favorite sport to cover, and I've been so fortunate to see so many great games over the years and meet so many great people and make so many great friendships through my job and through high school basketball. Coach G, you said this is 25 years for you. I think this is 20 for me. And I remember back when you were kind of still in your early days at South Portland, still getting your feet wet a little bit. But, the respect that people have for you, not only as a coach, but as a person, it's a testament to you, and it's so well deserved. Billy, I first met when he took over at Greeley, and we actually became very good friends. People don't know this, but before I met my wife, and my family's in Arizona, there were a few years that I didn't have anywhere to go Christmas Eve, and Billy had me over to join his family. He had me over for Thanksgiving one year. So, just a great gesture, and seeing what a great coach he's become. It's been a lot of fun. Laughn, I mean, your teams, they were so competitive in the years that you weren't at a championship level. I always knew you were always going to give a great battle. Those were fun to watch, and then seeing you climb up to a championship level was certainly rewarding, and I'm so happy for you and your program. And even though you're not in our coverage area, I get to see you a lot because you're banging heads with some of these other coaches and great teams from the Portland area. So I know I'll see you a few times a year. And then Nate, the last few years, that's been the same story down here. Going up against Portland and Cheverus and Greeley and South Portland. I feel like I cover Oxford Hills more than some of the teams in our coverage area, and for good reason, because you've certainly established your program as an absolute gold standard in the state. So keep up the good work, guys, and I can't wait to see all of you in the gym, hopefully very soon. But this has been a pleasure and an honor, and I've had a lot of fun here tonight, so thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's going to do it for the fantasy draft for tonight's episode. Thank you to all of our captains, our contributors, everyone for coming through. Hopefully you guys are on the sideline soon, but if not, we can do something like this. We can have a recurring thing going all winter long. Coaches Chronicles here on Big Time, if that's what it comes down to. Hopefully it doesn't, but if it does come down to it, we can make it happen. Make sure you guys are checking out all the previous episodes up there on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. It's out there. And we'll see you next time with another Big Time episode of Big Time Hoops, the podcast. We'll see you.